What's up, guys, and welcome to Press A repeatedly. Justin Tomasello here with Chris Gold.
Hey, everybody.
And we're back after a week off.
Yes, we are. Just needed a quick little breather to take care of some things on the back end. Got a lot of stuff going on in our lives. Justin fought a grizzly bear, had to recover from those injuries. And, gotta say, Justin, I'm really impressed that you bounced back after only a week.
Yeah, he ripped off both of my arms, but I was able to regrow them just by drinking milk. So there you go, kids. Drink your milk.
Yep. Drink your milk. But no, you're so badass. He ripped off your arms, so you ripped off his arms and attached them to your shoulders.
After he ripped my arms off, I ripped his arms off using my feet, I guess, and then also still using my feet, attached his arms to my arms.
I gotta say, that was a very badass maneuver. I only wish I was there to actually see it.
Yeah, but the weird part is somewhere in the wild is a bear with my arm.
All the other bears are like, how the hell did you get those arms? It's like, oh, these, it's whatever. Don't worry about it. Like the bear is like chasing after like deer, or it sees like a hunter in the woods. It's like, brrr, and the hunter's like, oh no, I'm screwed, and it just like slaps the hunter with your little stubby hands. And he's like, oh, this isn't so bad.
The bear's like, damn it, damn these human arms.
Yeah, I imagine the bear feels a crushing sense of disappointment at that point, Justin.
I see where you're going with this, but continue.
Yep. And, I feel like we have all been that bear at some point, feeling a sense of crushing disappointment. And I'm, of course, talking about video games, Justin, because that's what we always talk about on our show, about video games and not bears.
Yes, indeed. Our main topic for today's episode is going to be games that we hotly anticipated but just wound up straight up disappointing us.
Yep, these are the games where you look at them for months and months at a time. You hear when they were announced, you're like, oh, that looks so cool. You like follow every article on Game Informer, you're following all the news, and then the game comes out, you pop it in, and you just, man, this is hot garbage.
It happens to all of us. It's part of like gaming culture, I assume. And if anything, it kind of gives us at least a story to talk about of like, oh yeah, that one game, I was so pumped for that game, and then it wound up sucking hard.
Right, and even then, these aren't necessarily games that suck hard. Like, these aren't bad games per se. These are even games that are considered very highly reviewed. Maybe that's part of the hype, is these games are like, oh, everyone loves it, it's great, it's wonderful. So you're like, okay, so you get the game, you pop it in, and it's just not for you.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, it's very possible that it's just like not what you thought it was going to be. Doesn't fit into your style of game, even though you thought it would. By reading up on it, looking at artwork and everything, and like you said, some people might really love it and rate it well, but it just doesn't sit right for you.
Right, exactly. Because everyone has different flavors, everyone has different tastes, but we'll get into that discussion in a little bit. For right now, though, we've had a couple weeks to play some video games. So, Justin, what are you playing?
Well, yes, we did. It's been 2 weeks of time to make up. And I'll start with, last episode I talked about how I got Lost Sphere, but I haven't had a chance to play it yet. Well, I've put a few hours into it, and I'm going to talk about it now, so deal with it.
God, come on.
Sorry, Chris, it just has to happen.
All right, well, tell us about it.
Yeah, so Lost Sphere, if you didn't know, is it's a sequel. Not a sequel to I Am Setsuna from Tokyo RPG Factory, but it's their second game. I think it takes place in like the same world. It's got the same art style. Like a lot of the same mechanics. I guess you could call it like a spiritual successor.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah, right off the bat, I actually, surprisingly enough, was kind of disappointed because I didn't feel really any draw to the characters at all. The dialogue is really just corny. Like, there's one kid who's just hungry all the time, and seriously, like, every sentence out of his mouth is like, oh, I would do this, but I'm too hungry to do that right now. Or, like, man, I wish we were home eating some delicious ramen right now. And it's like, okay, like, I get it's funny maybe a little bit, but, like, it wore thin so quickly, and it's just super annoying.
You like put a meal in front of him, and it's like, oh man, I'd love to eat lunch right now, but I'm just too hungry.
Pretty much. If I saw that, like, I would not be surprised. Makes no sense. But yeah. So I Am Setsuna starts off with this really great story. Really, like, the main character Setsuna has to be sacrificed in order to save a town, and then you play as Endir, who's like this mysterious assassin whose job it is to like kill her, but then he gets hired to escort her to the area that she needs to go, and like right off the bat, like that game sets the tone really well. Really interesting characters. The characters in this game are kind of boring so far. The story is really not that great. Like, the town is fading away, and you, as the main character of Kanata, find out this power to slowly kind of restore the stuff that's fading away with memories or something. It's kind of confusing. Typical, like, Japanese RPG story. So I gotta say, my first hour was kind of, like, disappointing. I was like, this isn't really what I expected. But also what was weird, like, there was barely any combat in the first hour. So, like, I couldn't even get a good feel of the combat. And I'm like, man, this is really taking a while to get going. But second hour, I would say, you start actually exploring more, you start fighting more. And the big hook of this game is that you can actually position your characters and attack in combat that you could not do in I Am Setsuna. And you can use that strategy to, like, kind of move your guys around and actually, like, let's say, because two of your guys are ranged attackers, and if you can position, like, 4 enemies in a line in front of you, if you fire, you will pierce through all 4 enemies and do damage to all 4 of them. So, like, positioning works, and, like, if you run around to the back, you'll do more damage hitting them in the back. But also, if you're stuck after you go, you know, you're stuck there, you don't move again until your next turn. So if you leave, like, a weak character next to a strong enemy, he's going to do a close-up attack on you and do a lot of damage. So your positioning is really important. So that adds a lot of depth to the battle, and that really has been what's sucking me into the game more.
Nice. How does the game look visually? I know I Am Setsuna got a lot of criticism that the world was kind of set in a snowy landscape, and it was kind of boring. It got really dull just to explore the area after a while. Would you say Lost Sphere has kind of the same issues, or did they improve upon that?
So they definitely listened, because there has not been an ounce of snow in the game so far. The overworld, the towns, the characters, everything still looks the same. It's like the same graphical engine for this game. But the music's still great. And yeah, there definitely seems to be more variety, just even in the first couple hours that I've played so far. That never bothered me. Everyone's problems with Setsuna, I fully understand and, like, respect. Like, I can agree with them somewhat, but it never really bothered me. Like, I didn't mind the endless snow in that game, because it matched the tone in the game. It was like winter, death, like despair, you know. And the single piano track for the game, that people got tired of that too. But I thought it was beautiful and really worked with the game. So, you know, different people have different anticipations or whatever. But again, like, you know, I totally understood why some people would find that kind of boring. But so far, yes, everything seems to be new and fresh. Like, different biomes, it looks like, from the world map. There's like a beach area and, like, different caves and stuff. And the music is more than just piano, and it's still beautiful. I think it's the same composer too. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, liking it a lot, and I really want to keep playing.
All right, nice. What else you got?
I dove back into Monster Hunter World the other night. Me and Nick hopped on and played a bit. In fact, I was getting kind of concerned that I just, again, was disappointed by this game, because I just every time I thought about playing it, I was just like, I don't really feel like it right now. And that kept happening like every night. And I was like, does this mean I'm not like really into this game? Like it was kind of a bummer. And then I was talking to Nick on the phone, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm so hooked. Like I play it all the time. Like I'm playing with the guys and stuff. You just gotta really like kind of force yourself to kind of trudge through some of the beginning stuff, and it opens up a bit more." And so the other night we hopped on, and I was on the quest where I'm not sure how far you made it, but the first Elder Dragon quest where you have to like fire cannons at him, and then like he breaks through the barrier, and you gotta hop on his back. Have you done that yet?
I I think I just started the quest with the mud creature, like the mud monster. So I'm very, very early.
All right, cool. Well, let's play more, you and I and others, and definitely get deeper in, because that quest was really fun. And after opening up a bit, and it seems to be like I was kind of remembering that. Oh yeah, I do like this game. This is fun. It just have to kind of almost, for me anyway, sit down and just start playing.
Right. I mean, sometimes you just kind of hit a lull with some games, because I mean, like even games that we love so much, like Breath of the Wild, or even the older like Mario games. Like there are times where we play them and it's just like, not really in the mood. Yeah, you gotta feel the inspiration, the drive to play some of these games, even when they're really good games. And Monster Hunter World, I mean, is certainly it's certainly a game that everybody really loves and enjoys. And I gotta say, like, I'm enjoying my time with the game too. I guess I'm still having a little trouble in terms of kind of getting into it. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to jump into these quests without having to like create new quests and all that. And I don't know, just the way Monster Hunter does its thing, I'm still trying to get used to. It's a very unique system.
Yeah, absolutely, it is, and it's why a lot of people just kind of really never really gave it a fair chance. They couldn't really kind of catch on early enough, and it's also why a lot of people love it so much, because it is so unique. And yeah, I'm serious, man. Like let's like make time to play more of that and like get better at it.
Yeah, I got a lot of catching up I got to do. I mean, I do want to keep playing the game and get better at it. It's just that I've had other priorities this week and other games to play, but that's neither here nor there right now.
Yeah, and for me, I think most of the problem is it's not a very relaxing game for me. It's not a game you can kind of just pop in and like do a little bit of work. You have to like commit to like a 20-minute like very stressful fight where you're on your toes the whole time, and like don't get me wrong, that's fun, but that's sometimes most of the time after work, like that is not what I want to do. So I think that was kind of what of the problem that I was having with the game. But being able to fight the monsters with friends definitely takes some of that pressure off and can make it more enjoyable. So, it's really great that the online component works so well in the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That I remember the one time I was playing with everybody and everyone was like laughing, making jokes and all that. That was a good time. That was easily the best time I had with Monster Hunter.
Oh yeah, we need plenty more of that to come. So we'll make it happen.
All right. What else?
And the only other one I want to talk about, I actually just got last night. It was a game that I never even heard about until Butch showed me some videos. And that game is called Subnautica.
This is a game I've also heard somewhat about, but I don't really know too much about. So, yeah, this is perfect.
So it's a survival game available on Steam right now. It's early access. And I guess the easiest way I could describe this so far, it's probably not totally fair, but it's almost like a No Man's Sky, but underwater version. You are in a ship that crash lands onto a planet, but you escape via an escape pod that falls into the ocean. And you wake up with like no memory of where you are, like what's going on. And you have with you like a PDA. It's like this kind of piece of technology that like kind of has like your inventory and everything on it, and it reboots to like survival mode basically, and it basically tells you what you need to do. Like its sole purpose right now is to help you survive, and it gives you little hints of what to do, and like that's it. A lot of it is just kind of figuring out on your own. The game's been out for a while in early access, so a lot of people have played it. I'm trying like to stay away from like looking up guides or anything. I'm kind of just going into this blind. And in the beginning, I thought it was going to be kind of tough to figure out, but it's actually not too bad because what you do is you have this escape pod that's kind of like your home base, at least in the beginning. And a lot of things are broken, so you need to figure out how to fix it. But one thing that works is like it's almost like your I'm totally blanking on the name, but the crafting block in Minecraft that you make stuff on.
Right.
What is that called? Why can't I remember that?
Now that you mention it, what is that called? It's like a wood crafting table.
Crafting table.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Oh God, embarrassing.
Anyway. That's all right. It's not the first time we've embarrassed ourselves on this show. It will not be the last.
By God, it won't be the last.
Hell no.
So yeah, so that you have this thing that is like I think it's called like the Fusionator or something, but it's like your crafting table, and when you open it up, it kind of gives you options of what you can make. Like you can find blueprints throughout the game by scanning different areas of underwater, and just like different rocks and stuff, different wreckage that you can find on the ocean floor. And when you scan it, it'll give you a blueprint, and then the blueprints basically tell you what you need to make the thing. And there's all different kinds of stuff you can make: food, water, clothes, like suits, radiation suits, tools, equipment, deployable objects. Like there's a really, really vast, different selection of things to make. And so you have an oxygen meter, you have health, you have a food meter, and you have a water meter, as in like drinking water. And you have to basically keep an eye on all those things, replenish them when you need to, and basically go out and explore and start finding things to build more things to help you go faster. Like you can eventually, like I found blueprints to make fins, like for my feet, so I can swim faster underwater. I mentioned before there's a radiation suit that I'm trying to make because a little bit farther out, the water has a little bit of radiation, so you can't go in there yet. But once you make the radiation suit, you can go in there so you can explore a bit more.
Are there enemies?
There are enemies. In fact, there is this, I'm not sure the technical name for it, but Butch donned it the kamikaze fish. It is a red fish that goes and just starts chasing you, comes right at you. And then, like, when it gets near you, it just explodes and does, like, a lot of damage to you.
So it's a creeper fish.
You know what? I didn't think about that, but yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so it's basically a creeper, but a fish.
Yeah. And so I'm not really great at survival games. I'm not really a big fan of them, so I was a little nervous that I wasn't going to like this. But the game is pretty forgiving how when you die, if you die, you only lose like a little bit of items that you were carrying. It's not like an instant game over and you have to go back to the start or anything, which is what I thought it was going to be. And the first time, like within 10 minutes of playing, I swam a little too low and I was running out of oxygen and I couldn't make it back to the surface and I drowned. And I was like, well, I guess I gotta start over. And then I reappeared back in my base and it said you lose a few items. And I was like, oh, that's it? Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, so it really helps you learn the game more. Like, I think you're supposed to kind of die a few times just figuring out how everything works.
Oh, man, I'm familiar with that, but go
like
on.
You said, I mean, as in enemies, like there's a lot of fish that I'm like, oh, are these friendly fish? And then they turn at me and they scream and they start coming at me. I'm like, nope. And then I find out the hard way.
Yep, bad fish.
But yeah, so like, you get a scanner pretty early on that you can scan different items that you find underwater, different fish, different things to help you create blueprints. Fish you can collect and cook them to use as sustenance. There's a fish called a bladderfish that you can turn into water, so you can drink drinking water. And there is a your escape pod has a regenerative health pack that comes back. It's got like a couple minute cooldown, so like you can always go back there and heal up again. But if if you're really hurt and you have to wait for that cooldown to replenish, you can die easily. So you gotta kind of be careful. I gotta say, man, it's a lot of fun. It's a gorgeous game. They nailed like the lighting and water effects in this game look absolutely beautiful. And I gotta say, I've been snorkeling a few times, and it felt like I was snorkeling again. Like they captured like the patterns of the fish, like the lighting on the ocean floor, like the way the coral moves on the like it looks awesome. Like it's so cool to just kind of explore in this game, and it's relaxing when there's not a kamikaze fish coming up your ass. But I gotta say, it's like a really cool game to chill out to.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, ordinarily you've got an exploding fish swimming up your ass. That's rarely a good time. But no, this the game sounds really really cool. I want to give it a shot myself.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm kind of hooked. I played like for a few hours already, and it's got a really great progression system of like, oh, I built this thing now I can go here, and now I can look for more things to help me build this next thing so I can go there, and like it's always got you moving, always trying to explore more. And yeah, I mean, it's a great hook, and it's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
And yeah, that's it for me this week. What about you?
Okay, so I gotta admit, I didn't really play too much over the break area, just because like the games that I did play, I pretty much just played the hell out of them. And I actually beat a couple of games that have been on my list for a while. So the first one I want to talk about is Celeste.
Nice.
I finally beat Celeste.
Wow.
Yeah, I gotta say, I consider beating Celeste one of my top gaming accomplishments, especially in recent memory. Because, man, that game, especially towards the end, gets brutally hard.
I can imagine.
There were a couple times I was playing the game with Elena by my side, and she was watching me die literally over and over and over and over and over again, and I was just, man, I was letting fly with F word after F word.
As you should.
Yep, and she was just patting my arm like, you can do it, it's okay, and I'm just like, yeah, it was a struggle.
How many worlds are there?
How many worlds are there? I think there's like 7 or 8 different worlds. And the last world, I guess not. This kind of like touches into a little spoilery area, but the last world is kind of like a summary of all of the worlds that you've played so far. So I don't know. I have not looked at the total death count of that last chapter, but I died a lot. I died a whole heck of a lot because the game introduces a new mechanic just before that chapter. And I mean, it's not like a whole brand new mechanic. They take one of the mechanics and they expand on it. And then they throw you into this chapter and it's like, all right, here you go. And the game is all about like testing your limits and pushing you to as far as you can go, because like we discussed last time, it's very similar to a game like Super Meat Boy, where you just kind of have to die over and over again. Like you were talking about earlier with Subnautica, there are just some areas where you have to learn through dying.
Oh, definitely.
I would constantly throw myself into these different levels, and I would see these different areas like, oh, there's a really long jump I need to make, but it's way across this chasm of spikes, and all these walls are outlined with spikes, And even with my dash ability that you get in Celeste, how am I supposed to get that far? Like it's even further than what the dash would allow. But then you realize there's these little overhangs hanging from the ceiling, and so you're like, oh, okay, so you jump and then you dash up to those, and then you grab them, and then you just sort of jump your way from there to the end goal. And I gotta say, the ending, the very ending, because spoilers, you reach the summit,
Right.
and the way the game presents that moment is just like, oh man, like you can't help but be filled with such a sense of accomplishment and just satisfaction when you finally get up there and you reach the goal. And it's just like, oh man, like, and it's a quiet moment too, like in a game that is so intense. It had that kick-ass soundtrack going the whole way that's been motivating you, pumping you up, and you've been dying over and over again in these crazy ass levels, trying to avoid these just different obstacles this whole time, and finally you reach the top and it's just serene and quiet, and you get the chance to like actually look out across the landscape, and it's like, man, like you did it. And it was certainly one of the best feelings I've had playing a game in a very, very long time. Especially a game like Celeste. Like, I hadn't really heard of this game. This, to me, at least, came out of nowhere. I hadn't really heard too much about it. There wasn't really a lot of hype for it. I just picked it up because a lot of the review sites out there were saying, oh, this game is amazing, it's wonderful. So I picked it up, and Justin, this game is amazing, and it is wonderful. You're going to die a lot if you ever decide to pick up and play Celeste, but believe me when I tell you, it is worth it.
Man, I gotta say, I don't hate me, but I did not think you were gonna beat this game.
I gotta be honest, man. I didn't think I was gonna beat it either. I had my own doubts. It's one of those types of games where I would ordinarily put it down and say, you know what, I'm just gonna do something else because this is too hard. But I mean, it's funny. We talked about it last time, but the mountain that you climb, Celeste Mountain, in the game, it is like a metaphor for me playing this game. Like, it's not the type of game that I ordinarily can beat very easily, or that even necessarily that I would enjoy, but something about this game and something about it was just like, this game is so encouraging to you, Justin. Like, it's funny how in the level design it's so punishing, but the narrative around the game is like, you can do it, it's okay, don't be discouraged, just keep trying, we believe in you. Like, this game wants you to succeed so much. I know it's outside of the spirit of the game itself, but I can proudly say that I did not use the game's assist mode once to beat the game. I actually beat the game as it was originally designed, the way it was originally intended. And I say that's against the spirit of the game itself because the game encourages you to say, like, hey, we would really appreciate it if you played the game without assist mode, but here is assist mode if you ever need it. You can adjust the game however you want to make it a little simpler, because we want you to experience this game. We want you to have fun with it, The game makes absolutely no bones about, like, hey, if you use assist mode, that's perfectly fine. We won't hold it against you. Like, any strawberries, any achievements, or anything like that, you will still get. Like, you will still receive full credit for beating the game, whether or not you have assist mode turned on or off. So the game, it's very different from something like Cuphead, where that game was just extremely difficult, and it's say like, oh, do you want to reach the rest of the game's content? Well, then you have to get better at the game. You have to actually progress and see what comes next. But Celeste kind of goes out of its way to say, hey, if you want to see what's coming down the pipe, then yeah, you can do that. You can turn on assist mode, and you can turn it, especially if you're getting to a rough part, you can turn on assist mode and then get past it and then turn it right back off.
Wow, I mean, that's just really impressive, that you continued to do it, that you avoided assist mode, and, like you said, I love that they keep encouraging you in the game. That's not something you ever really see in a game, and I do believe that probably helped you a lot, because I'm sure you were many times ready to take your Switch and smash it in two over your knee, but all these messages of, hey, keep going, you're almost there, you can do it, like, I bet that really helped, psychologically to help you continue and beat it, and that is awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, the game doesn't explicitly present messages like that in that way, but it's in the characters and in the story, the way you interact with it. The main villain of the game is, quote-unquote, a part of you that the mountain just kind of manifests whenever you're near it. And this part of you is sort of all of your doubts and self-loathing. And this thing is constantly popping up telling you, oh, you can't do this. Like, it's impossible. You may as well just give up and turn back. And it really is amazing. Like, the mountain is a metaphor, not just even for the game itself, but really for any challenge that you have in your life. Like, I've got this work project that I have to do and it's impossible. I have this school assignment, I have this class I need to take. Anything, literally any task that is before you that is impossible. This game is sort of telling you, you can do it. You've got people around you to help you, to support you. It'll be hard. Make no questions about it. It's going to be hard. But yeah, you can scale that mountain. And that is, like, I gotta say, man, I know it's only the middle of February, but Celeste is already, for me, a very strong Game of the Year contender. I gotta say. It blew me away.
Man, that's awesome. And again, congratulations on beating it. And I'm excited to see. Eventually, I want to try it out. Maybe I'll come over to your place and try it before I buy. Because I'm not sure if I'll like it as much as you, but I really do want to give it a shot. So, maybe we can make that happen.
Yeah, I definitely encourage giving it a shot because, again, it is very, 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 very hard. You're going to die a lot. When I looked at my final stats for the game, I took a screenshot, but my Switch is way over there, and I don't feel like getting up and getting it. But I got 47 out of 175 strawberries. There was a point later in the game where the strawberries were in just these impossible to reach places, and I was just like, you know what? Forget it. I don't need them. And then I died, I think, like 1,830 times. Something like that.
Oh.
I did not break 2,000 deaths, which, again, I was very proud of.
Well, that's great. Congratulations. What else have you been playing this week?
This week, I have been playing and also beating, Justin, Life is Strange Before the Storm.
Huzzah!
Yeah, I had some free time over the past week or so I say, you know what? I'm just going to buckle down. I'm going to bang this game out. And I wrapped up episodes 2, and then the other day, or was it yesterday? I don't remember, but I wrapped up episode 3. And, whew, man, what an incredible experience that was. I'm going to say, like, bravo Deck 9. They truly carried on the torch from Dontnod. Certainly it's not the sequel that we're anticipating or hoping for, but this game, I feel like, was very strong. Not as strong as the original game, but it had a great story, great characters, and I feel like it told its story very well.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Let me see. I know we've talked before on this podcast how difficult it is to discuss Before the Storm or the Life is Strange series in general without going into spoilers. Do you want to do a brief spoiler cast?
I think we should do that separately at some point because we have talked about that before with the original Life is Strange, and you and I still have never shared our experiences or feelings about the ending of that game, and I would love to do that for this game too. So maybe at some point we should definitely do that.
Okay, so I'll be vague then. For episode 3, like, it's similar to the original game. You have the major choice at the end of it, and I gotta say, like, in terms of the stakes involved in that major choice, I mean, I'm sure the developers did the best they could trying to put a lot of weight behind this choice, but I really didn't think it was as strong or as emotionally gut-wrenching as the original game's choice was.
Yeah, I definitely would concur with that. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I feel like there was one choice that made sense, especially for the characters and everything you'd gone to up to this point, and then there was the other choice, which was just kind of like presented last second and being like, oh, this is what should happen because it's the right thing to do. And I was just like, I don't really buy that so much because, like, again, we talked about before how strong the characters are in this game and how, I guess, like, believable they are. I was almost going to say identifiable, but I've never been a rebellious teenager, so I don't really necessarily know if it's correct to say that I identify.
There's still time for you to do that in your mid-30s.
Hey, I'm not in my mid-30s just yet. Early 30s. But yeah, no, I'll dye my hair blue, and I'll, like, start shooting up drugs and, you know, smoking crack. That's what the teens do these days, right?
You'd be arrested so fast.
I'm just a blubbering wreck as soon as they arrest me. Please don't tell my mom. Save it for the jury, kid. Yeah, but no. Believable is the better term to use with regards to Chloe and Rachel, because a lot of their actions and the way that they act, yeah, you look at it and it's like you wish they wouldn't act the way that they do, but it's understandable why they do. I mean, they've all gone through some pretty rough patches in their lives, and they're acting out. They're angry, and so it's understandable to see like where exactly these emotions are coming from. I mean, I don't really have too many other things to say about the game outside of a spoiler cast. But
yeah,
I will
totally
say I really liked the story. Some of it felt like I don't know. Some of it felt like a bit stretched, I would say, in terms of realism. Like, in terms of what actually would happen. But then again, life is strange. Roll credits.
Oh, God.
I didn't intend to roll that into that pun. You can delete that if you want.
Oh, man.
But yeah, no. Before the Storm was really, really cool. I was a big fan. And yeah, I'm excited because I got the deluxe version, as we discussed before. So in, I guess, about a month or so, because they said in March, that's when the bonus episode with Chloe and Max is going to be coming out. So yeah, that should be coming out in about a month or so. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's great. I forgot about that already.
Some fan you are.
Okay, so I guess if you have nothing else to talk about,
Nope.
It's time to hop into the indie arcade.
Indie Arcade.
Oh man, I gotta say, Justin, I am especially excited for this segment of the Indie Arcade because, as you all may remember, last episode I gave Justin the indie game Astro Bears Party to play, and as Justin mentioned at the end of that segment, he was forcing me to play this game with him. So I already know everything there is to know about Astro Bears Party. But Justin, why don't you tell everyone?
Yeah, and of course, feel free to jump in whenever you want because you were a part of this Astro Bear phenomenon. But let's see, Astro Bears Party. Where to begin? How about with kick-ass techno music? And that's the music of the game.
Like, holy shit, Justin. Like, that is a fucking kick-ass track. Like, I feel like I could pick up the world and rip it in half with my bare hands. That's how pumped up it gets me. Like, it's just so good. What is a track that awesome doing in a game like this? Like, not to say that it's a bad game, but this game could, like, broker world peace if introduced to the proper people.
It's the first thing you notice because it literally blasts out of the screen into your ears. It gets you so, like, unexpectedly pumped up, and you're just like, all right, like, I'm ready to play this game. It's like you just did a line of cocaine, and then you sat down to play Astro Bears Party. Like, it gets you into it, ready to go. And so you're, the cocaine's pumping through your blood. You're ready to go. You got your friends ready. You select your bear of the 4 bears. We talked about them last week, how there was Xiao Li, the panda bear, the only girl of the group. There was the one guy, I forget his name, but he was a father and husband, proud father and husband.
Oh, I think that was, was that Ivan or Igor? I think it was Ivan.
Igor was the derpy
bear,
one,
and there was also
Neil was the guy that was Neil Armstrong. There was whatever. The 4th guy was a proud husband and father. That's the stat about him that you need to know apparently. But anyway, so the game works. It's essentially Snake. When you move, a trail forms behind you, and it stays there, and it don't run into it, or else you're gonna die, and your game's over. But the minigame aspect works of it. The multiplayer aspect works where however many bears are playing, if anywhere from 2 to 4, you choose the size of the globe you want to be on. There is like small, normal, and big. The music's still blasting in your face the entire time. Like I cannot emphasize enough how this is just this one track that is in the splash screen, the intro screen, the options, the game. Like, I'm pretty sure it would be in the credits if there even is credits. Like, it is just this one track that has overlaid the entire process of the game.
I'd like to think that the composer presented this track to the developers. He's like, all right, here's a sample of what I'm going to be putting into the game. I can make more tracks for like the different levels and different areas. And the developer's like, nope, this is literally the perfect song. We're just going to have it play throughout the entire thing. And Justin, like, I got to say, it's just really jarring because in the beginning you have the option of adjusting a lot of options, including turning the music on and off. And it's just funny how, like, this music is so loud and kick-ass, and it's so fast, and it's so pumped. But then you turn the music off, and it's literally just, like, flipping a light switch. I mean, it just shuts off, and then the game is just eerily quiet after that. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing.
So you run around the globe. You have a dash attack, and you can jump, and that's pretty much. Oh, I'm sorry. You have a jetpack too, so you can hover for a little bit. Those are your only options. And basically, you're just trying to be the last bear standing. And depending on the size of the globe that you pick, is basically how much space you have to move around. And, you just keep playing, and then whoever comes in first gets 4 points, whoever comes in second gets 1 point, and then third and last get 0 points. And then you just keep, the matches are super quick, and it just keeps going until you hit your set point value to be a winner. Like, I think we played it as 40 points is the winner. And then you win, and then you go back to the title screen, and that's it. Again, that's the entire game. There's a single-player mode that's basically the same thing, except you collect these little robotic fish instead of playing against other players. And that is the entire experience for $4.99. But I gotta say, it was just, we had such a blast playing this game for like the 45 minutes that we played it for, So, and it can continue to be fun whenever. I mean, Zool came over last weekend, and we played it with him too, and we again had an amazing time.
It's just such a fun, kick-ass game. Like, it's perfect for like picking it up and playing for like an hour, a couple hours or so, and then just putting down, especially if you've got like friends over. Like, honestly, like, you have people over for like a party or whatever, it is a perfect party game. Like, seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just a lot of fun for a little bit of time, but you know what? We were cracking up, we were joking, we were screaming at the TV. Maybe it was the cocaine that we took before we started playing it, but I gotta say, Astro Bears Party, way more fun than I thought it was going to be, and definitely worth the $4.99 for a great time with friends.
Don't forget too, like, the soundtrack is already playing at like breakneck speed, but when you're in single player mode, as you advance to new worlds, each time you go to a new world, it gets faster and faster and faster. And you're just cracking up. Imagining, like, how coked out must this guy be to be playing and drumming as fast as he is right now? Like, I mean, he was going nuts.
Oh, yeah. It totally matched. It didn't match. It was so ridiculous to have that soundtrack, but I think that it's amazing what music can do for a game, because like you said, we played one round without any music, and it was so just did not feel right, But with that music, it just got us so pumped up, and it just wound up being so fun.
Yeah, forget Celeste. That's the true game of the year 2018.
All right, Chris.
All right, Justin.
So, as I mentioned a little bit ago, Zool was over last week, and we did play Astro Bears. But after that, we were going through my Switch library and playing some of the old indie arcade games that you had made me get.
Oh, interesting.
One of those games that he requested to see was Vroom in the Night Sky.
I remember Vroom in the Night Sky, Justin. And if you'll remember, I gave you Vroom in the Night Sky because you gave me Life of Black Tiger. So I want you to consider that when you say whatever it is you're about to say next.
Well, here's my thought process, okay? Maybe it's my fault for not deleting Vroom in the Night Sky, but I was forced to play Vroom in the Night Sky again last week just to show Zool how bad it was. And remembering myself how horrifyingly bad that game was, I started looking around on the Nintendo eShop, and I decided it's only fair to return a witch-based game with another witch-based game. So this week, you will be playing Maria the Witch on Nintendo Switch. Zaki and Mia stole all the mail and spread it all over the world. Help Maria to bring it back to the owners. She is an amateur, and she still needs a lot of practice to master her broom. It will not be easy, but she has to do what she has to do. A fantastic adventure, an addictive game. Try and retry to control her clumsy broom and travel through many different magical worlds. Cross the magical portals and face funny, cute, evil enemies. Locate and get coins to buy checkpoints.
Whoa. Funny,
many
cute,
different
and evil?
items help you to get coins and mail. and this game is for $4.99 on Nintendo Switch, and it is your turn to be a freaking witch.
Well, joke's on you, because this game is also on Steam, and it's actually 80% off, so I can get it for 99 cents on Steam.
Okay, well, that's pretty good.
So, joke's on you. Oh, man, this, so, I'm watching the trailer for Maria the Witch right now, and, I mean, it looks very flashy, and by that I mean like a Flash game. But I gotta say, like, this is just first glance, doesn't look horrible. I mean, it certainly could look worse. I've played many worse looking games than this, but maybe it'll be okay.
Do you see the one screenshot that's in like a Lego world?
Oh man, yeah. Look at that. Okay, there's this one screenshot. Okay, so I don't know how to describe this, but the Legos look 3D, but there are also 2D animated characters on top of the 3D sprites here. And in the background, it looks like there's a kitchen with a big stack of pancakes. It just makes me hungry right now. It looks delicious. But there's like floating cat heads, and looks like a professor who's riding on the back of a hamster.
All this is shockingly accurate.
I'm assuming, based on the description, that the professor and his evil hamster that he's riding on top of are Zaki and Mia. So they stole all the mails and spread them all over the worlds. So I need to help Maria to bring them back to their owners. I'm assuming this is not in English originally.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Let's see. Mixed. Overall reviews are mixed. The very first most helpful review is, "God damn it, I got tricked and bought another blanking mobile game. P.S. blank you for using Miyazaki references to trick me."
Oh, that is pretty cold.
It plays and feels like a mobile part. Oh boy. So this is a mobile game out on PC. Wonderful. Great.
Alright. Why don't I let you sit with that for a minute while we take a quick break? And when we return, we will continue to be disappointed by talking about games that disappointed us.
I'm already disappointed.
Welcome back. It's time for Chris and I to just rattle off some games that we were really anticipating, reading a lot about, getting pumped up for, and they finally came out. We got them, and they just did not live up to our anticipations.
Yeah, these are games that were just ultimately not even just, as we mentioned earlier, bad games, but just really a letdown. Like, it didn't live up to our expectations. it wasn't something that like we really enjoyed to the level that we thought we were. And yeah, just wanted to discuss this because I mean these are games. This is again an experience that everybody goes through. So we just wanted to share our experience with all of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Justin, why don't you go ahead first and get us started?
Yeah, so I got a few to talk about, and we're gonna take turns, but I just kind of put mine in order of like oldest to newest. I guess I don't know. It's just like from when I was a kid up until now, if that makes sense.
No, that's fair.
So the first one I want to start off with was I am a huge fan of cartoons. One of my favorite cartoons of all time is Rocko's Modern Life. And there was a Rocko's Modern Life game for the Super Nintendo called Rocko's Modern Life Spunky's Dangerous Day.
Oh, that sounds very dangerous.
Yeah, so I love Rocko. At the time, I didn't even know there was this game coming out. But I just love Rocko so much. And then I got it for Christmas one year, and I was pumped up. I was like, oh man, a Rocko game. This is so great. I'm going to play as Rocko. I'm going to do all these awesome platforming levels. It's going to be great. Spunky's Dangerous Day. And again, I should mention, I haven't played this in a very long time. But as a kid, I'm going off my expectations of playing it as a kid. I despised that game.
How bad could it possibly be?
It was so hard. I don't think I ever, maybe once, beat the first level. You do play as Rocko, but it's not just like a Rocko side-scrolling platformer or anything. The main concept of the game is that Spunky is like kind of walking in front of you. He's walking, from left to right throughout the stage. And your job is to like kind of go around and like hit these levers and pull these platforms and like kind of make like a ramp for Spunky to go up and basically help Spunky get to the end of the stage. But there's also like all these enemies that are like trying to attack Spunky. Like I think birds try to come like pick him up and like all this other stuff happens, but they also attack you. And it was just super confusing, super hard for me as a kid. And just not what I expected, like so not what I wanted, that it bummed me out so much. And like I would play it a lot of times. I remember as a kid I would like play it, and then maybe a few months later I'm like, come on, it can't be that bad, I'll try it again. And then like a year later, there's no way this game is really that bad, and I would try it again. And every single time I would just like turn it off after like 10 minutes. It was just so frustrating. And yeah, man, I was not a fan of that game.
Man, especially like you're a fan of Rocko. I'm also a fan of Rocko. Like I love Rocko's Modern Life. Like the cartoons when we grew up, those were the best, man. Like we had Rocko, Doug, Our Real Monsters, Dexter's Lab, so many different amazing cartoons to choose from. And to have a video game adaptation of one of those cartoons be as bad and disappointing as that, oh god, that's got to be like a punch to the gut.
Yeah, it was just such a bummer. I mean, the cover looks so cool. It's got Rocko on it. Everything I remember from the game. All the characters are in it, and it's just, man. I do give them credit for trying something different, and I don't think it was the first. Maybe it was, but like there have been other games like this where you're just kind of helping something reach the end of a level. And so I guess in that way it was pretty innovative, but man, it just was not what I wanted, and therefore became one of my most hated Super Nintendo games.
Here's something interesting. I just looked the game up on Wikipedia. The game was, and I'm quoting, was unusual in that work on it started while the TV series it was based on was still in the early stages of development. As such, the development team had no animations of the characters to refer to and had to base the game's graphics on concept sketches sent to them by the show's animators. So the people making the game didn't even know like what to base anything off of.
That's really weird.
Yeah, that is very bizarre.
All right, so that's my first. What's your first?
Okay, my first. I remember, like, I kind of talked before, like, I didn't really get into video games the way that you had been all through your childhood. Not until after, really, I met you and you kind of got the hook in me in terms of playing video games and becoming like a gamer, so to speak. So this was one of the earliest times I remember getting really excited and pumped for a game and just being completely let down. And this was actually during the GameCube era. It was an RPG, and it was touted then, and I think a lot of people today still consider it like one of the best RPGs that they've played. And that game, Justin, is Baten Kaitos, Eternal Wings and the Lost Ocean.
I remember you getting this game. I remember you being pumped to get this game. And I very vividly remember you telling me how much you hate the game.
I was so let down by this game, because all the reviews, everything, even now I'm looking at this game and it's getting rave reviews. People are like, oh, this game is so good, it's so fun, yada yada. And it just is not, Justin. It's not good. It just it's such a slog to have to play through. You're controlling these characters, but the way the game establishes it is you're not necessarily controlling the characters themselves. You're controlling fairies who inhabit the bodies of these individuals who you're playing the game as. So, like, I don't remember the names of the characters or anything like that. So you're like the warrior kid in the very beginning, and you're not controlling him. You're controlling the fairy that's controlling him, and that is the game's explanation for why the voices sound like they were recorded underwater with the microphones halfway across the pool. It's the sound quality is so bad, especially in the voice work. Like, the characters talk and you can barely understand what they're saying, and this is because, the humans exist on a different plane of reality from ours. That's why the voices sound the way they do. Like, even a younger me, less educated and naive in the ways of the world, it's like, get the hell out of here with that. That's just a lazy excuse for just bad sound design. I'm sorry. It just it was so distracting because all the characters sound echoey and quiet, and you can barely hear what they're saying. And then I was like, all right, whatever. It's just the voices. Maybe the actual gameplay will be fine, because it's an RPG, right? And this game came out during the heyday of the whole card-based RPG era. There were a lot of card-based RPGs that came out during this time. And Baten Kaitos was the game that made me realize how much I freaking hated card-based RPGs. Because it wasn't just enough like, you can attack, you can use magic or do whatever. No, you have to build a deck of cards. In-game, build a deck of cards, and like, this is the attack card, this is this attack card, here's a potion card. And you can't use these moves unless, like, you have to arrange your deck strategically so that when you're fighting an enemy, you pull out these cards like, there's the attack, here's a magic card, etc., etc. So there would be moves that I wanted to do, but I couldn't do them until I actually drew the card that allowed me to use that move. And I was like, what is this nonsense? Oh man, I was so frustrated by that. Like, you have no idea.
Yeah, that sounds pretty brutal. I will say there was one card-based RPG that I actually liked, and believe it or not, it was a Kingdom Hearts game for the Game Boy Advance called Chain of Memories.
I distinctly remember Chain of Memories. I remember you lent me Chain of Memories to play, and I think I played it for like 5 minutes and stopped.
Yeah, side note, I think I lent you that game when we were in high school, and you gave it back to me sometime last year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I've got no excuses there.
Hey, it happens. I'm sure I have some games that are someone else's that I completely forgot about anyway. All right. So you mentioned an RPG. I'm gonna mention an RPG. This game. So actually, my brother Nick was way more excited for this game. But his excitement kind of got me excited and reading about it and stuff. And this was the game Quest 64 for the Nintendo 64. It was one of very, very few RPGs actually like were released on the system. It might have been the first one to come out on the 64. I'm not sure, but man, my brother was so pumped for that game, and he finally got it. And to his credit, he played it way more than I ever did. But man, and especially now watching like videos of people playing it online, this game was just a mess. Like the main character's name is Brian for starters. Okay, just Brian, Brian.
The very epic tale of Brian, the savior of the world.
And you play the whole game by yourself. You don't get any party members to join you. There is like a weird elemental system where you have water attacks, fire attacks, earth attacks, and I think like lightning attacks or something like that. And the only way to like bump up those stats is to like find these little like bubbles coming out of the ground randomly throughout the world. Whenever you find them, you can like +1 to one of those stats. And you know, the combat was like the 64 era RPGs had like this kind of ring area of like when you went into a battle, and if you wanted to escape, you can move freely in that ring, but if you wanted to escape, you kind of have to come to the end of the ring and get out of it. And I just remember it being really clunky, and like the enemies were kind of weird and lame, and like the story, like I don't even really think there was one. The music wasn't that great. Like there was just so much that was just bland about this game, and you know, it just never resonated with me. And then I remember I was watching a few videos about it recently, and one guy who actually played the game through to completion said that the game is like flawed in many ways. Like there's actually one attack that you can get that just kills every enemy like no problem instantly, completely, you know, taking any challenge out of the game at all. And he just beat the entire game using that one move over and over and over and over again. Like it was just a mess of a game. And for somebody like my brother who loves RPGs, like to wait that long and that's what he gets, like that's a huge bummer. And you know, I am a big RPG fan too, and we played all these great turn-based RPGs on the Super Nintendo, and then when we're looking through our 64 library, the only RPG that we went up getting was that, and man, what a letdown.
Wikipedia has probably one of the most brutal burns I've ever read about any one particular game on its page about Quest 64. It's the very last line. The general conclusion was the game was competent enough to charm gamers who had never played an RPG before, but too simplistic and trite to interest anyone else. Like
that is unbearably harsh, but 100% accurate.
Like, ouch, man. That is, that cuts right to the soul.
What's next for you?
Next for me is probably an interesting choice given the types of games that I like. And I, like, Justin, you know how big of a fan I am of the Legend of Zelda series.
Of course.
Yes. One of my favorite franchises ever, ever, ever. So, believe it or not, I actually had, I kind of debated having one or the other game up on, to talk about here. But I decided rather than talk about Twilight Princess because while not being as great as I thought it would be, it was still very fun. I still had a blast playing it. And it was still a great use of I felt like the Wii system when it came out, and it had a pretty cool story. So I liked Twilight Princess. I cannot say the same for Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword, I understand, it's a game that a lot of people out there really do enjoy. Like, they say, oh, they love the story, they like the characters, and they love the soundtrack. These are all fair. All of those elements of the game are wonderful and just really, really fantastic. In terms of actually playing the game, though, and exploring this bright, colorful world, man, it is just such a slog to get through. This game is just not fun to play. I don't know how to really phrase it any differently. This game came out towards the end of the Wii's life cycle, and it made use of like the Wii remote originally had the 2 sensors in the front, but then they came out with the Wii Motion Plus, which had the sensors in the back, which allowed for better motion controls, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Skyward Sword took full advantage of that, and that was actually one of the biggest selling points of Skyward Sword, is that, oh, you can swing your sword as Link, and like, you don't just press a button to swing the sword, you actually swing your sword. You can rotate the sword, and Link will, in his hand, rotate the sword, and it'll be cool. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. Like, you can do all sorts of amazing things with a mechanic like that. So then you play the game, and it turns out the amazing thing that you can do with this mechanic is very slowly and methodically fight every enemy, have your sword bounce worthlessly off of everyone's shield, swing the sword in one direction, and have the sword not swing at all in the way that you wanted it to.
Oh, yeah, that was so frustrating.
And it wasn't even just the sword. There were other items in the game, like there was a bug net for catching bugs, which theoretically would have been cool, except, I mean, literally, you're just waving your hand back and forth trying to swing this stupid bug net, and it's not moving right. And, oh, it's waving past this butterfly because you have to angle it right to catch the butterfly. And I'm like, oh, God, just kill me now. Traveling on the world was a complete pain in the ass because the world was segmented into different areas. There was Cloud City, there was Volcano Alley, Forestville, and Desertburg, and you had to travel to each of these areas. Now, ordinarily, and I'm not being spoiled by Breath of the Wild, where the world is completely open world, all right? I'm talking even like Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess, Majora's Mask. You have the big world, and you can literally just walk or ride your horse anywhere, wherever you want to go. Skyward Sword, if you want to go to a different area, you have to find the bird statue. You have to zoom up into the clouds, ride your bird, the Loftwing, and then fly across the gray, boring clouds over to where you want to go, and then you skydive down into the area where you originally wanted to go. And I was like, you look at the map, everything is laid out, so it's like right there. I'm like, why can't I just walk there, or something? Why do I have to go through this whole complicated process to travel from place to place?
So I don't think I was as disappointed in this game as you were, especially with my initial, time spent with the game. I would say my first, like, anywhere from 7 to 10 hours of the game, I was loving it. I loved the style of the game. I loved Link and Zelda's relationship, and the story I thought was really great. The colors were beautiful. I thought actually flying on the bird was pretty cool in the beginning. My first, third of the game, I would say I was really happy with it. But then you start realizing that there's a lot of backtracking, there's a lot of repetitiveness. You're kind of doing the same thing over and over. You're going back and forth to these same areas. That's when the flying starts to get boring. And like I totally can agree with what you're saying with a lot of the aspects of the game. And for me personally, my Wii had bricked at one point, and I lost all my save files on there. And that was when I was about halfway through Skyward Sword, and I never went back and played it again because of just how like bland it was starting to feel. And at that time, you had already beaten it, and you had told me your experiences on it. And yeah, I never actually went back to play more of that.
Yeah, it's crazy for me to say, but I honestly can't recommend just going back and playing it because it's just not, to me, it's just not worth it. The payoff at the end is just like, like it's whatever. The backtracking and the fetch quests that they use, like they are not incorporated well into the game. Like it doesn't feel like, oh, like we're going back to where we just were for anything meaningful. I remember literally like you're going through the game and you're progressing, everything's moseying along. It's like, oh, we have to move this one fan into the proper area so we can reach the next place we need to go in the story. Okay, and you go there, and a gear is missing from the fan. Oh, where did it go? It must be somewhere in this great wide world. Guess we gotta find it. And like you find it by like you talk to different people who might know where it could be, and then you go there, and it's like, what is the point of this? This is literally just here so that I can waste my time getting this gear, coming back, and then, oh, you got the gear, you put it back, now let's go to where we were before. Like, I don't even remember if you got like an item or anything along the way, or if they made it worth your while to actually go back and get this stupid gear. It just so much of that game felt like padding and extra stuff to do just for the sake of, oh, we need to put something here just to pad the length of the game. Like, it did not feel seamless. It did not feel fun. I haven't even gotten into Fee, your annoying sword, who explains like, oh, Master, if you open that door, there's a 98% chance you will enter the room on the other side. Like, thanks, Fee. I never would have figured that out if you weren't there. Oh.
Yeah, the padding, now that you mention it, is absolutely a problem with that game. In fact, I remember what made me not want to play that game again, and it was there was this one monster that you have to fight. He's like this giant monster. He's going up a hill thing, and you have to like slice at his ankles.
Yes,
to, like,
yes. I remember.
Yeah, and I remember I was talking to you about that, and I was like, man, I just did that fight against that guy, and oh man, I hated it so much. It took me like forever, but I finally killed him. And you went, well, guess what? You have to fight that fight 2 more times in the game. And I said, all right, that's it. And that was my I'm done with this game moment.
Justin, let me tell you, that fight against Demise, that was the fight, or that was the boss's name. I was actually wrong back then. You don't fight him 3 times, you fight him 4 times. The 4th time is when he actually achieves his final form. But the 3rd time was, I actually stopped playing the game for like 8 or 9 months. As soon as I realized I had to fight him a 3rd time, because I was just going around, and then it was like, oh, we need to go to this forest area again. I was like, okay, so I pop into the forest, and then Groose, you remember Groose?
One of the few high points of the game.
One of the few high points of the game runs up to you as soon as you land, and he's like, oh, Chris, thank goodness you're here. Demise is breaking free again. And I remember I had a blank look on my face, and I turned the game off, and then I turned it back on, and I tried going to literally anywhere else in the game, like any different area, and because I did not want to do that fight again. I was just
Yeah.
like, no, please. Maybe that was an optional thing. Maybe I don't have to do that. And I tried going to the desert, the volcano area, and Fee was just like, I don't think we should go here. I think our next destination really should be the forest. And I was like, wow, so you're really going to make me do this fight again, huh? All right. So I turned the game off, and if it weren't for one of my coworkers at the time badgering me to play this game over and over and over again, I probably, that would have been my done moment. I might not have actually beaten the game. But yeah, I've spent way more time on Skyward Sword than I really should. Let's just move on before I continue this rant.
Yeah, you need a break.
I need a break. I need some water. Justin, what else has disappointed you?
All right, this next game was a huge disappointment for me. So maybe I did this to myself because the main thing that got me excited about this game was the artwork, and more specifically, one of the characters in the game that you get to play as. And the game I'm talking about is called The Legend of Legacy, that came out on the 3DS. And it is a turn-based RPG, which, again, I love, with really awesome artwork. And one of the characters that you get to play as is a Prince Frog.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and he's awesome. He has a little crown on his head. He's got a robe. Like, he is the coolest looking guy, and I was so excited to play this game. And there are 7 playable characters in the game that you kind of like, you meet later in the game and like form parties, but you, in the beginning of the game, you pick one of the 7 to start like their story, right? Like the main character. Mm-hmm. And of course, I went with the frog because he was the coolest looking guy. So I bought the game. I love the art style of it. It's got this cool like pop-up book world style where like, you know, you'll be running through the world and like off in the distance, like instead of like a draw distance fog kind of thing, like you'll see these like trees that are like lying on the ground vertically, but when you get closer they like pop up like a pop-up book. Like, it was really cool. And I bought the edition that came with a nice little hardback cover, hardcover art book that came with the game. It came with a CD. Like, it was a collector's edition. So I was really pumped to play this game. I put the game in. I started playing. Within like, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours, I was just like, wow, this game blows. The combat just felt so soulless and like dry and bland, and it was like unfairly hard to the point where like I would run around and grind in the first area, and then I would go fight the boss and he would decimate me. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not high enough level yet, so I would run around and grind again, grind about like 4 or 5 more levels. Like, all right, now I can take this guy. And I would go fight him, and he would decimate me again. It was just ridiculous. I just remember, I don't remember much because I seriously think I like blanked a lot of it out of my mind because it just frustrated me so much. But I just remember it being incredibly bland and just, it was just not fun. Like, there was no like no real sense of progression, and you know, the battles just lacked any sort of like excitement to them. The environments were kind of like the same thing over and over again. It was just such a bland experience. And then I thought, maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe it's just me. So I actually did some research. I went online to some a handful of different game sites to read their reviews of the game, and they were all around like a 5 and 6, and they were all kind of basically saying things that I noticed or things that I would agree with. And these are, you know, a lot of these sites, the guy who wrote the review is a huge RPG fan. So it's not like somebody who's not really familiar with RPGs. Like, this was written by somebody who really is a huge, you know, has high appreciation of the genre, and they didn't like it either. So I don't know, maybe in Japan this was a bigger hit because Eastern gamers tend to like to grind a lot more. But man, I just remember being so bummed out because I went I wanted like a 40-hour epic journey as this Prince Frog guy. I was so pumped for that, and I just feel like it got robbed from me. I never got to experience it. And man, yeah, Legend of Legacy. Besides having a really stupid name, by the way, just did not live up to my expectations.
Oh man, that's very disappointing. I'm looking at the cover too, and you know, like you play as the Frog Prince. This Frog Prince is literally just kind of in the corner. Like you barely even see him on the cover art.
Well, like I said, he's one of the 7 main guys that you get to pick to play as. But yeah, it does suck that he's without a doubt the coolest one. I mean, look at them all. I mean, there's some decent looking guys over there, but
yeah,
I mean, who would not play as that happy looking Prince Frog?
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, look at the different characters you can choose. There's girl, boy, bearded boy, other girl, maybe girl with sword, third girl, maybe fourth girl, and then Frog Prince. Filmia
was his name.
Yeah, I would have chosen the Frog Prince every single time.
Yeah, so there you go. Those are my games that really left me wanting more.
Yeah, oh man, Justin, this is probably the first time on this podcast where I've dreaded revealing like my last choice here, because like, have you ever known that you were gonna get in trouble, that you were gonna get yelled at, and you just dreaded that moment?
Out with it.
My third game is Super Mario Sunshine.
Look, that's another game that a lot of people don't like, and I will not hate you for not liking that game, but I do want to go on the record and say that I do like that game. I do enjoy that game. I do not share in Chris's opinions, but please go ahead.
Yes, not just you, but pretty much I think everyone that I know at least loves Super Mario Sunshine. So I know as soon as this episode goes live, I'm probably going to hear it from everybody. So it is what it is. It's the podcast life. But yeah, Super Mario Sunshine. This is a game. And Justin, you've been there. You've seen me. I have given this game so many different chances over the years. Just like, I was like, maybe I'm just like, it's not the right time. Maybe I'm just not in the mood. So I start up the game and I try giving it a shot. And I get to maybe like World 2 or World 3 or so. And I just give up on the game. I'm like, man, this is just, I am not having fun with this. It's the game, like, I'm not really a fan of the controls per se. I don't know, like I feel like the game's controls are pretty tight, but I almost feel like they're just not, they don't always do what it is I want to do. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've tried turning around and then just jumping, because like you get like a little hop, because you want to just hop wherever you go. And Mario just does that side jump where I feel like they improved that in previous games, and even in Mario 64, where you can run and then when you stop, you can change directions and then you do the side hop. In this game, you can literally be standing still, immediately turn around, and then you'll do a side hop from right where you stand. And I don't know if they thought that maybe this would be a cool mechanic to introduce for this particular game, but it just got really annoying and really old really fast for me in particular. I gotta say, like, I'm not even so sure I really liked Flood as a mechanic, honestly.
That's not a shocking thing. I mean,
get,
it was something that people didn't really want in a Mario game. They were kind of forced with it, and you just kind of had to make do.
Yeah, like, I mean, the like, it was fine for a bit, I guess, in terms of introducing a new way of doing things, but man, this is Mario we're talking about. He shouldn't have to have this water powered duck on his back to like fly around and do whatever. And I guess too, I was just like I just didn't like the story all that much. Just, oh, you're Mario, you're going on vacation, and now all of a sudden there's this vandal and he's framing you and you have to clean up all the gunk around the island. I don't know. I just wanted to run around and play the game. I didn't want to have to like clean up everything and use the flood area, and just I don't know. Just something about this game, it just did not click with me. The camera for this game was just atrocious. I would try, like, anywhere you wanted to try looking, there was some building or some tree in the way, and it never showed you exactly what it is that you wanted to see or where you wanted to go. That in and of itself was frustrating. There's just a lot about this game. Like, I can understand where a lot of people really enjoy the game. It's colorful, it's beautiful. The gameplay, when you get it to, I guess when you really get it to work, can be really cool. You can chain a lot of awesome moves together. The boss fights are really big and really cool and imposing, but it just wasn't enough for me.
Yeah, it was trying something new that I guess really kind of burned a lot of people. It was at a rough time too, because that was with the whole Wind Waker fiasco, where, don't get me wrong, Wind Waker turned out to be a fantastic game, but people were initially very unhappy with the presentation of that game. They were expecting the, gritty Zelda that they were shown with the GameCube tech demo. They didn't get that. They got this very cartoony, kitty, cel-shaded style, so they were kind of burned about that. And then they wanted a new Mario game, and now here is one, but he has this water-powered jetpack thing that you kind of have to work into everything, and there's no way to not wear it, and, just kind of forcing you to do something you probably don't really want to do. So, I can totally understand people not really loving this game. For me, it was never really that big an issue. I think if I play it now, it would bother me a lot more, but however young I was when that came out, it didn't bother me. I was happy to have a new Mario game. I, studied enough, I guess, of the controls to get comfortable with them. I really liked that Professor Egad makes the Flood, because he also makes the Poltergust 3000 for Luigi and Luigi's Mansion. So I thought that was, a really cool tie-in. But, yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing that they tried that in some cases worked, some cases it didn't. I don't blame them for trying something new. You don't want Mario to get stale. But, I think it was also a learning experience for them to maybe not try and go in such a radical new gameplay direction for, a big-time 3D Mario game.
I gotta say, I liked Luigi's Mansion a lot more than I did Super Mario Sunshine.
Dude, I love Luigi's Mansion, and Luigi's Mansion 2 is awesome, and you still have not played that yet, have you?
That's going to do it for this week's episode. Remember, we post new episodes Mondays. Well, this is your part. You should say this.
I will punish you later for that.
Hey, listen, I'm getting to it.
Yeah.
I have so many games. But yeah, don't hate me too much.
So yeah, there you go. That's our list of some of games that have disappointed us that we were really anticipating. Of course, there are a lot more. This is another topic we could revisit later, perhaps with some guests on to talk about some of their most anticipated failures of games.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this is not a topic that is just limited to us. There's a lot of people out there who have been disappointed by a lot of games over the years. So if you have any stories you want to share about any games that you were looking forward to that just completely let you down, yeah, just email us at parpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and if anybody out there actually liked Legend of Legacy, please email us so that we can click the delete button and instantly throw your email in the trash.
Yep, we will print out your email and then we will just throw it right in the trash. No, we will not do that. We value each and every single one of our emails.
That's true. Even if you are a Legend of Legacy fan. All right, Chris, what do you say we get on out of here?
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
That's all for this week. Remember, Press A repeatedly posts new episodes Mondays on iTunes, Google Play, and Podbean. If you like what you hear, please take a moment to rate and review the show or tell your friends about us. It helps other people find the podcast and will really help us grow. And thank you to all who have rated, reviewed, and subscribed so far. We love you.
You can follow us on our Facebook page and on Instagram at Press A Repeatedly. We're also on Twitter at Press A Repeatedly. I'm at cgold113 and Justin is at oaf7724. You can email us any questions or comments or any opinions about Super Mario Sunshine. Keep to yourself at parpodcast@gmail.com. That's all for this episode. Chris and Justin signing off. And remember to give your life over and over so you can make the perfect strawberry pie. Press A repeatedly.
Right off the bat, like, that game sets the tone really well. Really interesting characters, and oh, god damn it!
Hold
Fire
on.
alarm.
Oh, jeez. All right, pause.
Delicious
pause.
alarm.